Hello and welcome to our channel. In today's video, we'll be diving into a fascinating and important topic that affects all of us, whether we realize it or not. We're talking about space junk in low Earth orbit and the threat it poses to our space activities. Over the past few decades, the amount of debris in space has been increasing at an alarming rate, which has led to serious concerns about the safety of space missions and the sustainability of space activities. As humanity continues to expand its presence in space, this issue is only going to become more pressing. The consequences of inaction could be catastrophic, but fortunately, there are solutions. In this video, we'll explore the nature of space junk, the risks it poses, the causes of the problem, and the potential solutions to this growing challenge. What is space junk? Space junk, also known as orbital debris, is a growing problem that threatens the safety of space missions and the sustainability of space activities. But what exactly is space junk? Space junk refers to any human-made object that is in orbit around the Earth and no longer serves any useful purpose. This can include old satellites, discarded rocket stages, fragments from collisions, and other debris created by humans. The problem of space junk has been growing rapidly over the past few decades. As more and more countries and private companies launch satellites and other objects into space, the amount of debris in orbit around the Earth has increased dramatically. In fact, there are currently more than 27,000 objects larger than 10 centimeters in low Earth orbit alone, according to the European Space Agency. And that's not counting the millions of smaller pieces that are too small to be tracked. So why is space junk such a big problem? Well, even small pieces of debris can cause serious damage to spacecraft, satellites, and other objects in space. A paint chip traveling at high speeds can cause a crack in a spacecraft's window or solar panel, for example. And larger objects can cause catastrophic collisions, which can create even more debris and make space activities even riskier. In fact, the International Space Station has had to maneuver to avoid collisions with space junk on multiple occasions. So, the problem of space junk is a serious one that requires our attention and action. In the next part of this video, we'll take a closer look at the risks of space junk and why it's such a big concern for our space activities. The risks of space junk may seem like a distant problem, but it poses a real threat to our space activities and the safety of astronauts. In this part of the video, we'll delve deeper into the risks associated with space debris. First and foremost, even small pieces of debris can cause serious damage to spacecraft and satellites. This is because these objects are traveling at extremely high speeds in orbit, often at over 17,500 miles per hour. At these speeds, even a small paint chip can cause significant damage. Imagine driving down the highway and having a small rock hit your windshield. Now imagine that rock is traveling at over 17,500 miles per hour. That's the kind of impact that spacecraft and satellites are facing in orbit. In fact, a small paint chip can cause a crack in a spacecraft's window or solar panel. These cracks can compromise the integrity of the spacecraft and make it more vulnerable to further damage. This can be a serious problem, especially for manned missions where the safety of astronauts is at stake. Larger objects, such as old satellites or discarded rocket stages, can cause catastrophic collisions. These collisions can create even more debris, which can make space activities even riskier. In 2009, a defunct Russian satellite collided with an active US satellite, creating thousands of new pieces of debris. This event highlighted the seriousness of the space debris problem and the need for action. Another risk associated with space junk is the possibility of collisions with the International Space Station, ISS. The ISS is a vital hub for scientific research and human exploration in space, and any damage to the station could be catastrophic. In fact, the ISS has had to perform maneuvers in the past to avoid collisions with debris in orbit. Overall, space junk poses a significant risk to our space activities and the safety of astronauts. It's important that we take this problem seriously and take steps to mitigate the risks. In the next part of the video, we'll discuss the causes of space junk and what we can do to reduce it. The causes of space junk has become a significant concern for space agencies and countries around the world. The increasing amount of debris in space can cause serious damage to spacecraft and satellites, and even pose a risk to human life in space. In this section, we'll explore the various causes of space junk and why the problem continues to grow. One of the main causes of space junk is satellite and rocket launches. When a satellite or rocket is launched into space, it leaves behind debris such as discarded rocket stages and protective covers. In addition, satellites that have reached the end of their mission are often abandoned in space, adding to the growing amount of debris in orbit. Another major cause of space junk is the explosion of old satellites. Over time, satellites become less reliable and are more prone to malfunctioning. When a satellite malfunctions, it can explode and create thousands of small pieces of debris that can remain in orbit for decades. Collisions between objects in space also contribute to the growing amount of space junk. Even a small piece of debris traveling at high speeds can cause serious damage to a spacecraft or satellite. In 2009, a collision between a US and a Russian satellite created thousands of pieces of debris, which added to the already growing amount of space junk in orbit. Solutions to space junk. As we have discussed, space junk is a growing concern for our space activities. In this part, we will discuss some of the solutions that are being explored to reduce the amount of space debris in orbit. Solution 1. Designing satellites and rockets for easy deorbit. One of the simplest solutions to reduce space debris is to design satellites and rockets to be more easily deorbited and removed from space once their mission is complete. Currently, many satellites and rocket stages are left in orbit after their mission is complete, contributing to the growing problem of space debris. By designing these objects to be more easily deorbited and removed from space, we can significantly reduce the amount of debris in orbit. There are several ways to achieve this goal. One approach is to design satellites and rockets with larger fuel tanks, which would allow them to more easily maneuver out of orbit and burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. Another approach is to design satellites with smaller and lighter components that can more easily burn up during re-entry. Solution 2. Developing new technologies for tracking and removing space debris. Another solution to reduce space debris is to develop new technologies for tracking and removing debris from orbit. Currently, there are several tracking systems in place that monitor the position and trajectory of space debris, but these systems have limitations. For example, they can only track objects larger than 10 centimeters in size, leaving millions of smaller pieces of debris untracked. To address this issue, researchers are developing new technologies for tracking smaller pieces of debris, such as radar and laser systems. These technologies can help identify and track even the smallest pieces of debris, allowing space agencies to more effectively avoid collisions and plan safe space missions. In addition to tracking, there are also technologies being developed for removing space debris from orbit. One approach is to use space-based lasers to vaporize debris, causing it to lose altitude and eventually burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. Another approach is to use nets and harpoons to capture and remove debris from orbit. Solution 3. Developing international regulations and cooperation. Finally, another solution to reduce space debris is to develop international regulations and cooperation. Currently, there are no binding international regulations governing space debris, which has led to a lack of coordination and cooperation between countries and space agencies. To address this issue, several international organizations are working to develop guidelines and regulations for space debris. These guidelines would establish standards for the design and operation of space objects, as well as procedures for mitigating and removing space debris. By working together, countries and space agencies can better manage the growing problem of space debris and ensure the sustainability of our space activities. Thank you for watching, and we hope that this video has been informative and engaging. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative videos on space and science.